Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as Erik ten Hag gets a Harry Maguire message. Patrick Schick of Czech Republic hints at potentially being a replacement for Ronaldo. Would he be a good choice? And also John Murtough, the director of football of Manchester United, makes a huge public error which can only do his reputation and Manchester United's reputation harm at a time where we need to be positive. So lots to get into on the show this morning. I hope you're all doing very well. We're moving through this international break very, very quickly, aren't we? Very excited. And of course, as part of that international break, England will be playing tonight against Italy. Gareth Southgate has been speaking about Harry Maguire and has basically said that he's absolutely world class in the air and he's superb with the ball at his feet like John Stones. Said that Harry Maguire is confident and positive going into the game and that he's happy to stake his reputation on picking Harry Maguire for England. So positivity from Gareth Southgate. Look, I don't think Southgate's a particularly good manager, to be honest. I've been very consistent about that. But I would expect those are the right things for Gareth Southgate to say about a player that has and is very consistent in an England shirt and obviously was going to start tonight. So I think it's interesting. I mean, I'll still revert back before we get into this. I'll still revert back to what I've said before. I just genuinely do not think it's almost like it's Ronaldo. Like this whole Maguire story over the last few days is just. It's not irrelevant because it's become a story. It's unnecessary. It's Harry Maguire. Like, it's not Cristiano Ronaldo. It's not Kevin De Bruyne. It's not Lionel Messi. And it's almost become this story that I think many United fans would agree with me that just isn't necessary. Like, this whole talk about why is Maguire not playing for Man United? Will he start for England? Well, yes, he will start for England because he's played very well for England. He's not starting for Manchester United because he's been scapegoated or because there's any injustice. Varane's better than him. Martinez is going to play off the left and Varane is better than him. He's on the bench at Manchester United. This has happened to many players over the years at big clubs. Sometimes you're a top player at a top club and you're on the bench. It's as simple as that. That's the story. I thought the unnecessary leak to Mark Ogden from whoever it was caused a lot of focus. And then because of that, Southgate's getting asked questions about Harry Maguire. And actually, you know, he was always going to start for England. And it is an opportunity for him to send a message to Erik ten Hag. Of course it is. But really, I don't know whether Harry Maguire feels this as well. Ultimately, he probably just wants to get his head down, focus on playing for England, enjoy the change of atmosphere, enjoy the fact that when the team news comes out, he knows he's going to start. Because at Man United for the last 2 years, he's known he's going to start no matter how bad he plays. He's not got that anymore. He's sat on the bench as the club captain, watching, waiting for an opportunity or an injury. Whereas at England, different environment. They have been successful together, that England team under Southgate. They have got a World Cup to get excited about. Different environment. I'm not surprised he's feeling positive and confident. And I mean, if he plays crap tonight or he plays brilliant tonight, I don't think it makes any difference about his Man United future because that's a different battle to fight. But it is an opportunity for him to, you know, have a good game, which he does tend to do for England and sort of be, you know, back in the frame of a positive frame of mind coming back to Manchester United next week. But as I said, can he send a message to Ten Hag? I think the message that Ten Hag has got already about Harry Maguire is the message that he probably wants to stay. I think if there is an injury to Rafael Varane or Lisandro Martinez, then Maguire's the third choice centre-back at the moment. And I don't think that... I mean, I'm pretty sure that if Erik ten Hag had a conversation with Harry Maguire, he would just say, look, at the moment, you're working hard, I respect you, I think you're a really good centre-back, but obviously at the moment, Varane and Martinez are doing really, really well, and you need to be ready for me, and I will be giving you game time. We've got midweek Carabao Cup, Europa League, and at the moment, that's where you're going to be playing, but things can change very quickly. You started as my starting centre-back, and Rafael took your place. That can easily work both ways. So I don't think he's got really much to prove. And let's be honest, if he plays well tonight, which I think he probably will, I'm doing a watch-along on That's Football at 7:45. So if you want to watch some live football for a change, we will be doing that. We'll be able to watch it ourselves together. But if he does play well tonight, what happens? I mean, the English press are very positive about Southgate and every England player, whether it's Grealish, Maguire, anybody. So you'll get... oh, look, Maguire's played really well in this, that and the other. But what does it do? Like, Raphael Varane was superb for France last night and captained them, and they're one of the favourites for the World Cup. That's the challenge. It's not about don't make a mistake for England and play well and you'll be back in the United team. It's a massive challenge. I don't feel sorry for any footballer because, you know, your destiny's in your own hands. It's a great position to be in and you've worked hard to get there. Respect. But what I would say is that name me a good centre-back in world football at the moment and stick them on United's bench, because that's where they're going to be. They're not. It doesn't matter. There's probably one or two centre-backs that you might say would change our centre-back pairing at the moment. But even then, I don't think Ten Hag would do it. And that's the truth of the matter. Sometimes it's very easy to moan and be negative and this, that and the other. And people always ignore us when we talk in a positive way. But even if we had Virgil van Dijk or Diaz or whatever top-class centre-back you want, Arsenal fans would say Saliba, they're still sat on the bench for Man United. And you know why? Because Erik Ten Hag's in charge and Varane and Martinez have been superb. He would not bench Varane or Martinez for Van Dijk or Diaz. And this will get clipped and people will go mad, but this is about watching football and this is about understanding our manager. Whether I would bring Van Dijk into the team, I probably would. I think he's one of the best centre-backs in the world. But Erik Ten Hag won't. He's got Casemiro, one of the best CDMs in the world, who's just won a Champions League and was man of the match for me a few months ago. He's sat on the bench for Scott McTominay because McTominay's playing well. Ten Hag won't change that centre-back pairing no matter what. It doesn't matter what centre-back you give him, he won't change it. That's Erik Ten Hag. That's our manager. He's already proven that. Ronaldo's on the bench. Casemiro's on the bench. Not because they're shit, but because he's being loyal to the players that are delivering to him at the moment. So all this talk about Harry Maguire or Luke Shaw or whoever, it's completely redundant. It's a waste of time. Maguire could score a hat-trick tonight. He could score an overhead kick from the halfway line. He could have a 10 out of 10 performance. He still won't start against Man City if Varane and Martinez are available. And that really is the crux of the issue, isn't it? The media and people want to create this situation that Maguire's been scapegoated. It's unfair. It's an injustice. He's a brilliant centre-back. He should be starting for Man United. I'd start him for Manchester United. I've played the game. Bullshit. Varane and Martinez own those shirts, deserve to own those shirts, and any centre-back is going to be on the bench at the moment. It doesn't always have to be a negative, is what I'm trying to say. He is the third choice centre-back at the moment and he needs to wait for a dip in form from the first two or an injury. And that's just the way it is. Casemiro's in the same boat with McTominay. And I just think people are making a mountain out of a molehill. I really do. I hope Maguire plays well tonight. I hope Luke Shaw gets on the pitch and plays well tonight. And, much the same as Varane was superb last night. Eriksen was superb last night. And that's what you're up against. Even if you play well for England, you're not getting your place back at United because it's a different environment. And also, you might play well for England, but Varane was superb last night. Eriksen was brilliant last night. McTominay was good the night before. So everybody's performing well, which can only be a positive. I personally want competition for places. That's what I want. Maguire thinks he's back. He's like the Terminator, says Sain Miasi. I'll be back, the Terminator. Well, somebody in the chat earlier before I went live said he's not the Terminator, he's the Turdinator, which I thought was a bit harsh. But look, he's got to be patient, says Chelsea, the way he will have game time. He will. And I think that, I'm tempted to, sod it, let's do it, right? Let's do this. This will be interesting for you. I think some people just don't understand that football opinion is objective, subjective, and will change based on evidence. That's just the way it is. And it would be very easy for me as somebody who doesn't actually think that Maguire's the right sort of centre-back for Manchester United anymore. I think he suits a Southgate team. I think he suits a team that plays a little bit deeper. But he's a good centre-back. But it'd be very easy for me to say, you're never getting back in the team, you're crap, this, that and the other. But the reality is he's the third choice centre-back. And if he plays well tonight, that's good for Man United. But nobody is changing. I think the message just has to be, McTominay's playing ahead of Casemiro because he's playing well. Varane and Martinez are playing ahead of Lindelof and Maguire because they're playing well. Malacia is playing ahead of Luke Shaw because they're playing well. It doesn't mean Luke Shaw's shit. It doesn't mean Maguire's shit. And it certainly doesn't mean Casemiro's shit. It's just a manager that we haven't had this for 2 years, basically. We haven't had a manager that doesn't have favourites. We haven't had a manager that picks people on form and is loyal to that form. If we were managed by Solskjaer, Casemiro would be in for McTominay, I believe. Even though Solskjaer loved McTominay, he would get Casemiro in that team because he's world class. He'd be picking Shaw over Malacia even if Shaw played badly. He'd find a place for Maguire because he had favourites. We've now got a manager that will start the season with Shaw and Maguire, and after 2 games when we play badly, we'll give other people a chance, and if they do well, you play. It's as simple as that. But I don't know whether anybody read this. It was in an article from the BBC after Scott McTominay played well for Scotland on Wednesday night, and basically this journalist had an indirect at me. He may as well named me. I don't know why you have to be so vague about it. He said, Scott McSideways was the main reason why Manchester United was failing, was the gist. He's a championship player, a headless chicken. He couldn't run a burger joint, not to mention the United midfield. The mere fact that he was anywhere near the team boiled the blood of the presenter. It was a 10-minute deconstruction viewed by 161,000 people with 3,300 likes and 0 dislikes. There are a number of examples of people blaming McTominay, but the fans' YouTube channel with 1.4 million subscribers is not a bad place to start after the losses to Brighton and Brentford. Mark McTominay was criticised. And I'm like, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And I can't hide from the fact that I've given McTominay shit. I have. And I basically thought he was pretty shit last year, and I still stand by it. But like, I can't stand the whole my farts don't smell in the lift attitude. Like, if that's proper journalism, why have you not spoken about what we've said about McTominay since the Brentford game, where he's had good scores in every game? No, that's an article written on Wednesday night about our opinion on McTominay after Brighton and Brentford and for most of last season. What about the million views that we've had for the Liverpool game or the Arsenal game where McTominay played well and McTominay got a good player rating? This is it. This is the bitterness you get within reporting and so-called highbrow media now. They cannot stand this. They can't stand this open honesty where I've got no bit of paper in front of me. I haven't spent a morning with a jug of coffee rewriting my article because I've been to bloody journalism school. This is raw fan opinion, and it's not scripted. So you watch a game of football and you instantly give your opinion. You're not sat there with your little notes and your Google and your Wikipedia getting it right because that's what your professor taught you when you were 18. No, this is real life, mate. And if you're going to write stuff, fine, but that's outdated. That's after the Brentford game. The last month, I and many people who didn't think McTominay was good enough has given him the credit he deserves, because you know what? That's what supporting a football club's all about. If you see people in a shirt that don't deserve to be in it, you will get fans at the ground singing, "You're not fit to wear the shirt," because they've got every bloody right to sing that when people are being paid good money to put on a shirt that means something and wipe their arse on it, which is what they did last year. But the minute you start performing in that shirt, it doesn't matter what past you've got, you will be given the praise you get. That's what support is. That's what support is, and that is the message that needs to go to Luke Shaw, Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire. You are not finished at this football club. People may have opinions that, would I sell Maguire tomorrow? If a good offer came in, yes, I probably would. But if he gets back in that team and starts performing, he will get the praise he deserves. That's what it's all about. Simple. Mark, did you see the rumours Grealish could be leaving in January? Arsenal could be in for him, says Zayn Miasi. I don't think Grealish will be leaving. I agree, Mark, says Reese. Why are people talking about this? We are winning. That's all that matters. As long as the players are playing well, who cares? Exactly, Reese. We just need this team. I want Luke Shaw to play well tonight. I want Maguire to play well tonight. I want Ronaldo to play well for Portugal tomorrow night. I want Casemiro and Martinez and Anthony to play well on international duty, because we're ticking them off at the moment. McTominay was good Wednesday night for Scotland. Eriksen, Varane, brilliant last night. We want to keep ticking this off. We want our players to play well. And we've got a very, very difficult October coming up. And if we've got 20 players that are playing well, this is all we need. The team's playing well. I really just don't sense a lot of negativity towards any player at the moment. I think what United fans want to see is players getting their head down, working hard, and, none of this bloody bullshit leaks or gobbiness in interviews or, angling for moves. We want to see a camaraderie. We want to see a togetherness, and hopefully we will see that. I want to talk about, very quickly, I just want to talk about this, and then I want to talk about Schick. You know that comment from Murta yesterday? I know we spoke about it a lot last night, but I was thinking about it this morning. Murta basically said yesterday that he doesn't anticipate spending like we've just had, or activity like we've just had in the previous summer. He said that publicly. Look, if I'm being polite, I think the jury's out on Murta as a director of football. I don't think he's very good. I don't know how he survived that summer. I really don't, because flew to Barcelona, got nothing. Flew to Turin, got nothing. And then, really, Casemiro was a piece of piss, and Anthony was a piece of piss because we overpaid. Like, anybody can do a deal like that if you've got money. I don't think he's done a particularly good job as a director of football. I don't particularly think he's very good. I think he's been at that club for years. He's been part of the problems for years. People forget that John Murta's been at the club since the days of David Moyes. So I don't think he's a very good director of football anyway, but the jury is out on that, I accept. But even based on what he said yesterday, I can't believe he said it. You know, we were talking about it last night. For a director of football to come out and say we don't anticipate similar activity to what we've just had, it's shocking. I'd be ashamed of that if I was the director of football of any football club, let alone Manchester United. I would not have uttered those words if I'd been ordered to do it. And you know why it's a bee in my bonnet? Because you're the director of football and you don't know what the fans know. This fan base knows that summer we've just had needs to happen again and again and maybe again. We need probably 3 or 4 windows like the one we've just had, where you bring in 5 quality players. That needs to happen again and again. And to have a director of football basically saying that, yeah, we don't anticipate doing that again. He's not a director of football. He's a director of finance. He's a doff, but he's not a director of football. He's a director of finance. He's talking like a bank manager. How can you... It's the most clearest indicator of what the issue is at this football club when a director of football is saying, we don't anticipate the transfer activity we've just had in future transfer windows. Because from a football point of view, everybody, from an Arsenal fan to an Airdrie fan, knows that Man United need to keep investing in that playing staff. And yet the director of football is saying publicly, we're not going to do that. We don't anticipate doing that. It's the clearest indicator you can ever get that the football club is a business and not a football club. When the director of football is publicly saying to you, the fans, we don't anticipate spending money like we've just done in the summer, when it's step 1 of about 4, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it just shows you how in the pocket, and of course they're in the pocket, they're employed by the Glazers, but it's not acceptable, and it should be called out. And I've seen people calling it out this morning, and it's absolutely right to call it out again on this show. A director of football, after a transfer window which was chaotic, but we did get good players in, coming out and saying we don't anticipate doing that again. What are you talking about, mate? We need to do that again 3 times, not just 1. And this is the issue under the Glazers, isn't it? That like even the director of football will publicly toe the Glazer line and say we're a business, not a football club. Lee Galder says you only had to use your eyes to see McTominay was sideways and backwards passing last season. He's improved, and that's credit to Ten Hag and Scott Hogg works as Lee. On McTominay, I watch football with you most weeks when the watch-along's on. I've watched football for most of my life. It's not a hard game to analyse. It's very easy at times. And the simple thing between McTominay last year and this year is that you're right. Last year he'd get the ball, spend about 3 seconds on it, change direction, do a bunny hop, pass it backwards or sideways. This season he gets the ball, he's passing it forward more, and he's passing it quicker. It's like being a sprinter really. Instead of running 100 metres in 13 seconds, he's doing it in 11. It looks better. He's passing forward more and he's passing quicker. It's not actually that difficult. You've got to be able to do it. Fair play to him. But of course, it comes down to Erik Ten Hag's ability to get more out of a player. Of course, it comes down to coaching. And we to be fair, we spoke about this in the summer. We've not had proper coaching at that football club for players for about 3 years. Rashford should improve. Everybody should improve. So you can look, I've said it before. You're an absolute clown if you think that Dalot, McTominay and Rashford were doing what they're doing this season last season. It's coaching. It's very clear coaching. Having said that, McTominay's still not getting on the ball enough. He's still only averaging 30 passes a game in a United shirt. That should be up at 55. And then you're going to get an even better player. Would you listen to Maguire when he tells you not to leak? Why should I listen to him when he has done the thing he's telling me not to do, says Rory. Well, we don't know that he's leaked it, just because if I have a conversation with a mate in a pub tonight and then tomorrow he rings somebody up and says, I was talking with Goldbridge last night and this is what he said, that's not me leaking it, is it? That's somebody, sort of throwing me under the bus. And I might not have said the things they're saying as well. So, you've got to be a little bit fair there. I don't know whether anybody saw the comments from Patrick Schick. He is a Czech Republic striker who plays for Bayer Leverkusen. He was linked to Manchester United in this early summer, but he signed a new contract, a long-term contract. He's 26, and I think he's signed a contract at Leverkusen to 2027. Anyway, Czech Republic are playing Portugal tomorrow night, Ronaldo. And basically, Schick has been talking to the media and saying how Cristiano Ronaldo is his idol. And it's got a few people talking about, could he be a Manchester United striker solution? We're probably not going to buy a striker till next summer. I mean, look, he's not a player that's really been mentioned seriously in relation to Manchester United for quite a while. And I'm not sure he was ever really seriously... I think he was a Rangnick target, if I'm being honest. I don't think he was ever an Erik ten Hag target. So I don't think Schick is a name that features on United's list at the moment. Having said that, he's a very interesting profile striker. Tall, left-footed, quite quick, good at holding the ball up. can link the play up quite well as well. So I think in relation to strikers, we've got to be quite open-minded and... Drink of water. I think he's an interesting player. And what I would say about him is that if he's good enough, he's not going to stay at Leverkusen forever. There has to be a move. George says he was a Euro flavour of the month. He scored a lot of goals for Leverkusen last season, George. And I know his popularity grew because of the Euros. But I do think he's an interesting profile of striker. And whilst I wouldn't expect him to be a Man United target in the future, you never know. And I think that there probably would be a willingness from him to move to Manchester United. That's always step one. Step two is, would Manchester United be interested in bringing him to Manchester United? And I think that's the job that Ten Hag has got over the next 9 months, basically. Unless we buy somebody in January, which, could be an option. I feel that if we do things properly, and look, Murta and co are going to make it very difficult with the whole we're not going to spend money, but if we do things properly, then someone like Schick should be within the parameters of the search that we're going to conduct to bring a striker in next summer. You've got to look at all types and basically have those regular meetings where Ten Hag is looking at them and going, yeah, he's got something, let's keep scouting him, or no, that's definitely not what I want. And you look at what Ten Hag's done with Ajax. He's played with false nines. He's played with people like Sebastian Haller. You look at what he's done at United. He's used Rashford through the middle, who's basically a winger. He's obviously got Ronaldo. Martial's a different profile striker. So I don't think you can pigeonhole Ten Hag and say that Schick's not the sort of striker that he wants. But I'd certainly keep him involved. I'd certainly keep him in the in the options. Look, we know about Gakpo. I think Gakpo's a very interesting option, isn't he? I almost wouldn't mention Gakpo as an option, really, because I think that we know there's been an interest in Gakpo. It's what that interest in Gakpo really is. Was he an Anthony alternative? Did we want both? If we'd got both, would they have both been wingers? Would he have tried Gakpo as a front player? I don't think Gakpo, if I'm absolutely honest, if I'm doing my top 5 Man United striker targets, I don't even include Gakpo in it. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't go for him, but I just don't think Gakpo is the sort of player that we're looking for up front. I think we're going to look for a number 9. I think we're going to look for somebody who is a number 9. And they could be 6'5", they could be 5'10", they could be quick, they could be medium, they could be good in the air, they could be an all-rounder. But I do think that that's the sort of striker that we're going to look for. And look, maybe Ten Hag is thinking about Gakpo. Maybe that's the sort of player he is looking to bring in. But I think that we will. I think the interesting thing for me is whether we go for one in January or whether we go for one in the summer. And also, so much of it's going to depend on how much money we're going to spend, which I don't want to be the prophet of doom, but I think it's very obvious, very, very obvious. If you go back to the meeting that Richard Arnold had in that pub in June, and you listen to the comments from Murtagh and Arnold yesterday, it's very, very clear that next summer is going to be challenging in relation to revenue. And we're clearly not planning on big spending in the future. Get Gakpo in January. A lot of people saying that. Phantom, who's a member. Thank you very much if you are a member, by the way. You can do that by clicking the join button or doing it through the live chat. Get exclusive videos and your badge next to your name, like Phantom. He wants Gakpo. I personally would like another wide player and a striker. I mean, in the progression to where United need to be, I would say we definitely need to bring a goalkeeper in, whether they're an understudy or whatever. We need a right back. We need another centre back. We need another midfielder. We need a striker. And I feel we probably need another wide player. Now, some of those positions could be taken by younger players coming through or current players developing. But I do think we're about 6 players away. And then you need to sell players and replace them as well. So there's still a hell of a lot of work that needs to be done on that squad. And I mean, I don't think we're very... I think it's an impossibility. I don't know what you think, but I think it's an impossibility for that current squad to fight for a title. I think it's impossible. I think it's capable of fighting for top 4. It may even be capable of winning the Europa League, and it may well be capable of getting a domestic trophy, but it's not capable of winning a title in my mind. And that's why I go back to what John Murtagh said yesterday about we don't anticipate a summer like we've just had. So you're saying that squad's pretty much ready to win a title, John? You're talking nonsense, and you're doing it publicly as well. Like, we're a long way from winning a title, and that has to be the end game. So how can you publicly say we don't anticipate spending big money in the future? You know, Sommer says João Felix. I mean, João Felix would be very welcome at Manchester United, but where do you get the money to do that sort of thing? Himanshu says if Gravenberch doesn't get playing time at Bayern, he could be a really good option for United. I think he will get. I think he will get playing time at Bayern. I mean, I really like Gravenberch, and I'm pretty sure that it would have boiled a few journalists' minds if we'd bought Gravenberch as well, another Ajax Dutch player. But actually, the profile of that player would be very, very good. I'm not saying he could be Jude Bellingham, but I do think there are similarities in what Gravenberch offers you and what Bellingham offers you in relation to they've got the potential to be really, you know, almost world-class midfielders of the future. It'll be criminal if they don't add a player or two in January. Still need to clear a few out as well, says Chris. And Jack, thank you for being a member for 5 months. Appreciate that. Hey, you know what? We need good scouting, says Jude. We do. And, you know, one of the things we need to focus on as well, and we didn't get it yesterday, is the absolute failure in the transfer market in relation to selling players. I'm seeing a lot of people at the moment saying, would you sell Maguire? Would you sell Shaw? Would you sell Lindelof? I think those players are in a position where they can pretty much decide their own future. And I'm not saying that they're Man United starters, but Lindelof knows if he goes knocking on the door and says, I'm not getting game time, I'd like to leave next summer, there will be offers there. Maguire, probably the same. And Luke Shaw, probably the same. Where we're failing is the inability to move on players that Ten Hag wants to move on, that may now have to use that really he didn't want to use. That doesn't mean they won't have a future at United, but they weren't meant to be part of the future. So I'm talking Eric Bailly, who's actually on loan at Marseille. That's dangerous. He's back next summer. Alex Telles, same one, you know, on loan. That's not great. Dean Henderson, well, he should have been sold really because that money would have come in handy. But again, he's on loan. These are problems that come back next year. They may be solutions, but they're still on the wages book. Brandon Williams, we couldn't sell him. Wan-Bissaka, we couldn't sell him. Twan Sebi, we couldn't sell him. There were players this summer gone that we needed to move on just to be in a position where we can take a deep breath and go, right, we've got rid of players that we needed to get rid of. And then when you've done that, you can then be in a position where, you know, maybe an Italian team wants Lindelof for 20 million and you go, you know what, let's do that deal. Let's sell Lindelof for 20 million and then we can get another centre-back in. we're hindering ourselves with the size of that squad. I desperately think that we need another centre-back at Man United, but I think it's way down the list. I don't think it's even in the next 5 signings. I think, right back, striker, goalkeeper, another midfielder, maybe centre-back's 5th choice. I personally think centre-back is going to become the new CDM. We wanted a CDM for 4 years before we got Casemiro, and I think we need another centre-back because I'm looking at profiles, and I think Varane and Martinez work well, and they definitely work well in the modern game. They're mobile. They read the game very, very well. They can be left on their own. They're one-on-one defenders. And what I mean by that is if you leave Varane with the striker, he'll be happy to be left with him. If you leave Martinez with the striker, they're happy to be left with him. You look at Lindelof and Maguire. Are they happy to be left one-on-one? No. They want to play in a system. They want to play in a back 4 or a back 5 that's compact, close together, shielded well. Whereas I think Varane and Martinez, if the game dictates it, they're saying to the fullbacks, go. They're saying to the midfielders, go. Just leave us on our own, and they're happy for that. We need centre-backs like that. I know I keep saying it. We need what Liverpool have got. You've got Van Dijk and Matip starting, but then you've got Konate and Gomez as the backups. And maybe they are backups, but they're similar types of backups. They will defend on their own. They are mobile. I think that United team at the moment is so far away from where it needs to be, because even if the first 11 are good, can you replicate that with the second 11? And that's what a good squad is. You lose a centre-back and someone else may not be as good, but they do that job. For example, if Martinez gets injured, Lindelof's nothing like Martinez. If Varane gets injured, Maguire's nothing like Varane. So the whole defence has to change, which means the fullbacks may not be able to go forward as much. The midfield may have to drop a little bit. So what you want is, what Liverpool have, what Man City have, is when you take a player out, a new player comes in and slots into the system. We don't have a system squad at the moment. We have a squad, and there's some good players in that squad, but we don't have a system squad where somebody drops out and someone drops in. Ronaldo is very different to Martial. Anthony is very different to Rashford. Casemiro is very different to McTominay. Fred's very different to Eriksen. So Wan-Bissaka is very different to Dalot. We need that. And I don't think people talk about that enough. We need that. We know we're going to pick up injuries. We know people are going to lose form. What you want to do is have system players that drop into the system. And we're a long way away from that, because that means investment. And then you get John Murtough coming out saying we don't anticipate a summer like we've just had. Well, how are we ever going to have a system squad then if you are basically saying that publicly you don't anticipate spending money on the first team that much, let alone the wider squad? You do want some different options, as George says, especially up front. You need a quick striker, a tall striker. But at centre-back, you don't want different options, George. No, you don't want different options at centre-back. You want your centre-backs to be pretty similar, really. And that's what Klopp's got, and that's what Pepper's got. Within those centre-backs, you want the different traits. You want one of them to be good in the air and one of them to be quite mobile. But yeah, I think our centre-back profile at the moment is an issue, because I think everybody's very different. Lindelof and Maguire, I don't think they work together anyway, but they're very different to Martinez and Varane, and you want similarities. Somebody said it quite rightly last week. If Twan Sebi stayed fit and had reached the potential many of us thought he would, he suits Martinez and Varane more than Maguire and Lindelof do. He's got the traits that would suit the way Ten Hag wants to play more than Maguire and Lindelof do. So that's what I mean. I think Man United could do with, I'm not going to name the world's best centre-backs, but we could do with a Matip or a Konate, someone like that. An Upamecano, someone like that. People who can just come in and play that system. But look, we're a long way from that, and I don't think under the Glazers we're going to get to that, because I don't think under the Glazers they even want to build a first team, let alone a squad. But it'd be interesting to watch England tonight. I'm going to do a watch-along, of course. That'll be on That's Football, 7:45 kickoff. And I think we've got an interview for you this afternoon to go up as well. Looking forward to that. So keep your eye on that. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I've got a video going up on my channel in about half an hour, actually. It's my press conference for the Sidemen versus YouTube All-Stars. Just a little tongue-in-cheek press conference that I've got that I'm going to whack up on my channel, which I'll tweet for you in a bit. So watch out for that. And I'll speak to you all a little bit later. We'll be live at 7 o'clock tonight. Obviously not 8 o'clock because of the England game. So 7 o'clock. Matt Carroll says, good recruiting and smart buying would get us there. Yeah. Investment. I'll leave you with this. That club needs £1 billion of investment. Stadium, infrastructure, playing staff, £1 billion. They ain't going to give £1 billion, so we ain't going to go anywhere. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Great show again. I'll speak to you a bit. Don't forget, Friday night's always a good show. Q&A, kickback. Let's get into it. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.